It's been nearly 20 years since Pennsylvania had a real statewide economic game plan. Well, that's officially changed. There's now an ambitious 10-year strategy on the table, and it's all about getting the Commonwealth back in the race for jobs, for innovation, and for growth. So let's dive in and break down what this whole thing is about. And look, the tone is set right from the very top by Governor Josh Shapiro. This quote tells you everything you need to know. This isn't just some dry policy paper, it's a declaration. The goal is crystal clear, to make Pennsylvania a leader again. But, to win any race, you first have to be honest about your starting position.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? This new vision is so bold because it absolutely has to be. It's a direct response to some pretty serious challenges. So what's really been going on that prompted such an urgent call to action?
Okay, so before you can map out the next 10 years, you've got to take a hard, honest look at where you are right now. And when you look at the data, it paints a really stark picture. Despite having some incredible assets, Pennsylvania has been falling behind its neighbors in the race for economic growth. This is where you see what's being called Pennsylvania's paradox. On one hand, you've got these amazing strengths, world-class universities doing billions in research and development, a location that's a stone's throw from 40% of the US population. But on the other hand, the state's best and brightest graduates are leaving. Amazing innovations aren't turning into local companies, and there's just been a serious lack of investment. And wow, when you talk about underinvestment, just look at the money used to attract businesses. Between 2018 and 2022, Pennsylvania spent about $139 million a year. Now compare that to Ohio, at over $1 billion, or New York at a jaw-dropping $2.6 billion. It's not even the same ballpark. They're playing a completely different game. It's the same story for what they call shovel-ready sites, land that's all prepped and ready for a new factory or office park to be built. Pennsylvania was putting in just $10 million a year. Meanwhile, New York was at $200 million. When a big company is looking to expand, that kind of difference is impossible to ignore. But it's not just about the money, though. It's also about making things easy. Ranking 31st in the country for business friendliness, that points to a deeper issue. Businesses are finding it slow and painful to get the licenses and permits they need. In today's economy, speed is everything. And that kind of red tape, it's a total deal breaker. All right, so with the problems laid out that clearly, the state has put together a really comprehensive solution. We're not talking about a single little policy tweak here. This is a full-on, five-pronged strategy designed to tackle these challenges head-on. And these are the 5 core pillars of the game plan. Invest to compete is all about putting real money on the table to close that funding gap. Speed of business, that's about slashing through all that red tape. Opportunity for all focuses on making sure we have the skilled workforce for the jobs of tomorrow. Innovate to win is about turning all that incredible university research into actual Pennsylvania businesses. And finally, build resilient regions, making sure this growth lifts up every single part of the state. Okay, so we have the how with that 5-point plan. Let's get into the what. And this might be the single biggest change in the whole strategy. It's all about focus. Instead of spreading resources thin, Pennsylvania is making a huge strategic bet on a handful of key industries where it truly has a chance to win. For years, the state's approach was basically to sprinkle its limited economic development money across dozens and dozens of industries. And the result? No single area ever got the kind of investment it needed to become a real powerhouse on the national stage. Well, that's all changing. The new playbook is laser-focused. It's using data to pinpoint the industries where Pennsylvania either already has a competitive edge or has the clear potential to build one. It's about making every single dollar count. And here they are, the 5 priority sectors. You've got agriculture and manufacturing, which really play to the state's historic strengths. Then there's energy, capitalizing on Pennsylvania's incredible natural resources. And then you have life sciences and robotics and technology, which are all about accelerating into the high-growth, high-tech industries of the future. So you might be asking, okay, why this specific mix? Well, it's not random. It's a really calculated strategy. These aren't just high-growth sectors. They're sectors that create good, high-wage, family-sustaining jobs. The whole idea is to lean into what Pennsylvania has always done well, while also pushing hard into the areas where it has a chance to lead the country. Plus, focusing here helps build stronger supply chains right inside the state. Look, any plan is only as good as its results, right? A plan is just a piece of paper if you can't measure success. That's why this strategy doesn't just offer up a vision, it defines exactly what winning is going to look like in concrete, measurable terms over the next 10 years. So this is it. This is the official vision for 2033. To make Pennsylvania a premier state to do business, to create an economy that can weather any storm, and to make sure that the prosperity that comes from all this is shared by everyone who calls the Commonwealth home. And this right here, this is where you see just how ambitious this plan really is. The goals are anything but modest. We're talking about climbing from 41st in the nation for job creation all the way into the top 15, to jump from 15th for being a good state for business into the top 10, and to make a huge leap from 35th to the top 10 in how fast wages are growing. These are the big metrics that will decide if this was all a success. So, for the first time in a generation, the Commonwealth has a focused, data-driven, and undeniably ambitious economic playbook. The 10-year race has officially started, and that leaves us with one crucial question. Will this new game plan be enough for Pennsylvania to win the decade?